Just under 3 years, smart rings has exploded like anything.
All the wearables, whatever you're saying, globally is more than 500 million.
India will truly become like a manufacturing hub for the globe.
Indian consumers are much more active than before. Today the topic is on smart accessories. Just to give you a quick context before I dive in straight, one of the stats that at CyberMedia Research as an analyst firm we are looking at, it's that Indians on average are spending close to 6 hours on their smartphones. They are sleeping less than 6 hours every night, you know. In my case, those numbers are much more different as such, but that gives you a sense, you know, when you look at across the board, there is that under tension which is there. We are not really getting time to be health conscious and so on, but a shift also is happening. And what we are going to do is there are those 3 or 4 threads which we want to like really focus on, starting with you know, fitness itself. Till some time back, it was just on the periphery, but if you were to look at today, it's going now equally into the realm of preventive health stack as such. There is much more that you know, average consumers are spending their time on, not just in terms of tracking their steps, in terms of what they eat and so on, but that entire health consciousness has come to a certain level. If you were to look at audio, there again, it was not just in terms of how it used to be just 3 years back. There is that entire innovation happening in terms of spatial audio, in terms of immersiveness in that audio as such, in terms of understanding what premium audio really means as such, you know. And if you were to look at smart rings for that matter, just under 3 years, smart rings has exploded like anything, you know. Consumers are really, and this is predominantly being led by women, according to the research that we do, they are spending more time wearing smart rings, tracking their health, fitness, and so on. All of which points to the fact that Indian consumers are much more active than before. They are much more clearer in terms of their outcomes that they want, in terms of where they want to go with this, and lastly, in terms of where they buy. You know, if you were to look at the data from last year, 2025, surprisingly, online retail declined, offline grew as such. What that points out to the fact is that more consumers now want to look, touch, and feel their accessories before they buy, you know. And predominantly now, if you were to think of it, Omni-channel comes into the foray. There is that entire shift towards buying premium devices. But let me quickly start off with the first question, and which is something which, as an analyst, I've always found amusing. What comes next after the smartphone? Is it all of these standalone devices, or will the smartphone continue to be the center of the universe? So Tasleem and all of you, like, if you can quickly go through that, like, you know, how do you feel about this? Do you really see a shift happening? All of these devices that I spoke of are getting prominence, but can we think of a future without the smartphone?
First of all, thanks, Prabhu, for having me here. Your question is, are we looking at a smartphone going to be replaced by any other devices? As a business point of view, we'll say not good for us. But yeah, as a user, just I say that earlier, all the wearables, whatever you're saying, globally is more than 500 million. In that, 100 million is almost consumption by Indian market itself. So earlier, all these wearables were considering as the accessories for the smartphone. And it was like how it can help to extend the smartphone uses and all. But now the trend is that with the AI, the trend is that these wearables is going to replace the smartphone moments. So definitely a lot of things which till now we are doing only with the smartphone is going to be replaced. I can tell that the next few years will be more by the wearables. As I clearly mentioned that the ring. Currently, earlier people were using a smartphone for just a step count and all. But now when they realize the importance of health and whatever the limited future for the smartphone, which they can't do more on the health vitals and all, and for that now they are moving to the rings. So even in the smart watch also it has limitation because of the uses pattern and all. But now, if you see, when you move to the ring, lot of the thing which was limited because of usage pattern, now it's with the ring, you can get those vitals and all. So definitely, down the line, lot of the moments which were only was done by the smartphone will be replaced by the wearable, but not completely, it will replace the smartphone in the coming years.
Yeah, thank you. I think good afternoon. I have a very counterintuitive point of view, but the thought is that from the history of how people use appliances or any kind of personal device, it is never replaced. So there was, large mainframe servers, then there were desktop, then there was laptop, then there's mobile phones, right? But logically, everyone is using all the form factors in different formats, right? So that's the number one thing. I don't think accessories or any other AI device will functionally replace, let's say, smartphones. And the fundamental reason is that a lot of intelligence, context is there in your phone today, right? So it can augment, definitely, it can support. Replacement would be extremely hard, in my opinion. That's number one. The other thing which is very also interesting is that with smartphone being the main brain of any individual, the accessories have this great companion ecosystem ability to get built up, right? So all the smart devices, whether it's your TWS, whether it's your smart watches, smart bands, smart rings, any AI companion can kind of augment to your smartphone, right? So I think it will be more of a connected ecosystem, which will kind of enable people to live a much more comfortable and contextual life, in my opinion.
Absolute pleasure to be here today, Prabhu. Let me give you a binary answer. I mean, to your question. I think it's always better to give a straightforward binary. India is a mobile-first country. There are still 150 million smartphones that get sold year after year. For a lot of us Indians, particularly me, my mobile phone is actually my first device. I mean, this is a device where I consume a lot of content. I mean, honest confession, I've got, two IMS at home. I don't get my hands on the remote. So my first port of call to consume content is my phone. And that phone continues to be one of the most important devices that I own, and I continue to. So binary answer, smartphones are here to stay, and they will continue to be one of the first screens for a lot of us Indians.
Thank you, Prabhu, for the question. I think like smartphones were at some point, right, when there were computers, laptops and everything, and then smartphones kind of started doing a bit of more stuff like 2G and all that. While it did not replace laptops and computers back then, it kind of opened the opportunity that smartphones can do that. Now with the miniaturization of technology, of chipsets, battery and everything, it just enables the new devices, the new set of smart accessories to do a lot more than just do, let's say, audio or something like that. So in a way, it is stepping in the right direction, but like, everyone on the panel said, smartphones are here to stay. Because like the same logic as, people still use desktop, laptops and everything. So they are here to stay, but at least from the smart accessory point of view, it is stepping in the right direction.
And I agree with all of you, right? Like, again, I can't really think of a life without a smartphone. Like, it's good that I can get a notification, but if I'm not able to see an answer, then that puts me off, actually. Gautam, I would like to stay with you for a moment, on a topic which we are all talking of all the time, AI. That's the flavor of the season. On-device AI is coming to the fore. We have talked about it in the context of smartphones, but in context of all the other form factors that we are talking of in terms of the accessories, how do you see that differentiating the experience?
So again, I think smartphone is the easiest way to kind of experience AI and everything, because the interface has a display, has an input and everything. It just makes it easier. But I think again, the idea being that, with the miniaturization of everything, how does A, smart accessories blend in your life, and B, how do they enable AI functionality, right? For example, like on smartwatches or on smart bands, we had sleep cycle, we had steps, we had all of this, and people were kind of okay with that kind of information. But now, the detail is much more deeper. Like, instead of just saying that, you slept for 6 hours, try sleeping for 7 hours, it's just saying that your stress level might go up. It's basically decoding everything and giving you an answer that probably a dietitian or doctor or someone would give, like, this is happening, the data is there, but how does it impact you? Now, similarly with AI coming into picture, it can actually be proactive. Instead of, waiting for you to get stressed, it will tell you that, the kind of thing that you're doing. In the past, we have seen that, it stresses you out, and therefore, it can preemptively tell you that, you might get stressed out. So maybe, so that is what the consumer is also looking for, right? They're not just looking for, okay, I slept for 7 hours, the watch is also saying 7 hours, but it's saying that, you are trying to get yourself very stressed out. That would, where it will help.
So let me add on the data points here. So when we say the cloud AI and the on-device AI, if you see the latency, the cloud AI latency between 100 to 800 millisecond, but on-device is approximately 100 millisecond only. So on-device, and then also the one that other data point which I want to add on, when people had done the survey, as per the survey report, more than 70% people still prefer on-device because of security. They prefer that whatever with the data, it's good that my device is getting intelligent, but how secure is my data? And they believe that if that intelligence there on the device, then they are feeling more secure. So the comparison between the cloud AI or on-device AI is definitely the latency is one of the things, but the major thing which will drive is that to build that user confidence, and for that, on-device is still, I think, doing better than the cloud AI and that part.
And how do you react to what Gautam was saying? Like, and that's something which I agree to. Like, earlier it used to tell me in terms of the number of steps that I'm taking and so on. And now it's bombarding me with all of these insights to the extent that I feel like, okay, I need to take care of my health. I need to be more proactive and so on. So do you see AI actually playing a role on device AI as such? And what next we can expect in that sense?
See, till now, all the comparison was happening between the device and device. But now the down the line comparison will happen between ecosystem versus ecosystem. So whatever be the devices there, step count and all tracking purpose, that is done. That's become the hygiene. Now all the devices can do that. But how well it predict, how well it recommend, the intelligence part is going to be the next game changer. So as I said that device side is perfect, but how well it's predicting, that will be the next qualifying factor for the consumer to buy the device.
Yeah. Let's switch gears. Let's talk about audio. That's again, if you were to look at Manas from your point of view as well, like Hearables as a segment, there's so much innovation that has come in just the last 2-3 years. Earlier, we had functional devices. Now we have devices which are backed by tech. We are talking spatial audio. And Samir, I would want you to also jump in here in terms of the entire shift happening. And we have tracked this at CMR for some time now. Like, consumers are increasingly aware of the kind of experience that they want to have in terms of the premium audio that they want to have. And premium as a word is shifting across the value chain. Like it's no longer at a price point, but it is across price tiers as such. So if both of you could just,
I think you should start. No, Samir, I think you should.
Happy to. I think that's a juicy full toss. Thank you. No, I mean, jokes apart, I think consumers in India most certainly are prioritizing, audio when it comes to experiences on the go devices. And the premium, aspect of what you just mentioned is definitely not about the pricing. It's about seeking a premium experience in the content that I love. Now, whether it's music, whether it's gaming, whether it's, episodic content or even movies, that's where, we also come in. In fact, from a tech aspect and the previous question, if I may just, try and club and answer both. So of course, audio experience is what Gautam also spoke about, AI and its role, in terms of giving a premium immersive audio experience. We are fresh out of an announcement with our friends from Xiaomi at the MWC earlier this month, and the Xiaomi 17 Ultra comes with a very innovative AI audio capture product from Dolby. In fact, it's a world first that we've introduced with our friends from Xiaomi. And this is a product that comes out on the back of a consumer insight. For the longest time, consumers have access to, editing tools on their phones, which enhances their visual aspects, whether it's color correction or, it's any saturation or anything. But for the longest time, there isn't an audio edit or a capture tool that enhances the audio. I'll give you an example. I'm at a music concert, and I want to share what I heard as a music experience at the concert, minus ambient interference, somebody yapping next to me. But there isn't a tool on an AI-driven tool or whatever tool on a capture device that can help me segregate, the noise not the brand, but noise from what I really want to share with my audience. And that's now possible on Xiaomi 17 Ultra. And that product is actually called, AI Mixer, which is powered by Dolby. And it's not just about a product. I think I also want to mention that we take a lot of pride when we work with like-minded partner brands like OPPO and Xiaomi, where, also educating the consumer and telling what that, product or that feature is all about and how does that enhance the experience is also where we come in. So tech followed by, what the tech has to offer to the consumer. I think the two together is where, our partnership with, partners like OPPO and Xiaomi sort of come in.
If I may just quickly, so anybody who is at the far end of this room, if they were recording us with a Xiaomi device right now, with that particular one, they should be able to hear us crystal clear. Yeah?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
No, I think same sentiments, but what at least we could see was, as you said, that people are not treating audio as like just functional devices. They want a lot of experience out of it. We used to get a lot of requests for features where someone used to say that if I'm trying to get a notification on my left side, can the action button be configured accordingly, right? So that the functionality I'm trying to drive while I'm working out is very, very high. More use cases on spatial, which people don't find in the headphones, is that, people said if you enable a health coach, and if that person is running with me or in front of me to motivate me, then the sound form factor has to be that way, right? So there are a lot of other use cases on the spatial side that we could see on the experience layer, which a lot of users do value, especially the young folks, right? So they want to be connected with the device, but the experience they want has to be really immersive. And of course, like everyone said, they're watching 4K content, they're listening to high quality music. So every touch point of their life is something they want to kind of get that into on the spatial side, especially.
Yeah, definitely. The TWS as a product, if you see, go check more on the data points in that. So more than 70% TWS are using non-audio purpose, like the call cases or the recording cases and also. Definitely there are a lot of intelligence going on in this particular domain, in that audio one, to just compress the noise and to make it more accurate and to give the data exact what user wants. So definitely a lot of innovation is going on in this audio side also.
I think I have similar ideas as Manas and Sameer. Basically, audio earlier was how good it sounds, what kind of drivers are you using, basically a spec kind of a thing, and now it's moving to more of an experience kind of thing. Like most people would know, you go to a theater and you watch a movie, you know what that experience is going to be like thanks to Dolby. But that is what people expect out of experience. Like, I have great audio, I can hear like in 16-bit, in lossless, if you have the Xiaomi Buds 5 Pro Wi-Fi, you can actually listen to it lossless. But the next step is obviously going to be, can I get a theater-like experience? I think some of those movies, if I have to mention one, was Ready Player One, right? In which someone will wear glasses and they are in an immersive area. Like they can see in 3D and they can also hear in 3D. So that is what that peak of immersiveness is going to be, and therefore, people are interested in that experience.
If we spoke about step counts and whatnot, and Tasleem also touched upon that. If you can just go back to that, one of the things which, and which I asked earlier also, like, where does the consumer trust then come? Like, is it in terms of just the sensor innovation or in terms of the data accuracy that comes about? Or at what point will consumers then finally start accepting that this advanced technologies that we bring in, that is useful for them? There is that skepticism which is always there, right?
I think what it enables, like having spatial audio or head tracking and all that, just enablement of the chipset on device, AI on device and everything. It just opens a new zone for the headphones itself, while, in some cases, spatial audio is not very accurate and not available across the board. But knowing the fact that the device itself is capable enough with software updates, with anything, that it can actually go there, is something that, people will still kind of go for instead of just having non-smart hearables.
I want to add on here. So as you mentioned about the health wearables and all, if you see more than 50 or 60%, the data point which we have, people buy these health tracking devices, but they use for 3 months and then they put it in one side. The reason why is that tracking is something is they want that. But unless those devices, they start helping them to improve in their daily life, unless that part people try to solve that one. Otherwise, only in the health tracking is very limited one. People will buy, use for 3 months, but can't keep them for a longer time. So once you start building the ecosystem, or once you start building the services on top of that, which help them in their daily uses, that will engage them, that will make them more uses of those devices more compared to that, if only for tracking purpose.
And so do you see that happening soon, or how is it? Like,
No, it's already started.
Okay.
It's already started. As I said, always, just before that also mentioned that earlier it was between device to device, not the ecosystem versus ecosystem. So once you start building the ecosystem in the ring itself, in the smartphone itself, if you see lot of services people are building on top of that. Devices become a hygiene. But what are the services which you build, or what are the ecosystem it support that can engage consumer in the daily life, and how it seamlessly is blend with their daily life. That is going to be the game changer. And the next innovation is going to be there. Hardware innovation is hygiene,
yeah.
but how you add on with your intelligence and the ecosystem is going to be the next game changer for the devices.
Got it. Gautam, if I may come to you now, in terms of manufacturing as such, across all of these accessories that we spoke of, where do you see the horizon looking like? You know, what are those strengths that we have as a nation? You know, what next can we expect?
I think India is doing wonderful when it comes to manufacturing. Like you have your PLI schemes, you have your, speed of adoption is really, really good with India. I think the next wave will come from, or the horizon that we're looking at, it will come from, when we kind of look at innovation. For example, designing our own products ourselves, aligning education systems that kind of, make sure that, we have a healthy flow of good designers, good engineers and everything that will work on these things. And then, finally, if we are going there, manufacturing of smaller components as well. That's where I think, India will truly become like a manufacturing hub for the globe. So I think we are in a good space, but in looking forward, we have to kind of get into designing, innovating, and kind of manufacturing the smaller component as well.
And Tasleem, how do you see that? Like,
See, the trend which is going on in the market, first of all, the government, they are enabling so many, they are giving so many PLIs schemes. So from their side, it's a great opportunity is given for the Indian companies to lead that one. And one more data point I want to add on. If you see in the semiconductor, globally more than 20% talent pool from India, but still we don't have any SoC companies. So I believe that you need to go, if you want to go faster, you need to go in the multiple direction. One is definitely on the SoC, which require longer term, but in the shorter term, the framework side, which we need to own it. Example, just I want to add on, the security is the major concern. Now, if you see a lot of innovation is happening here, and in April 2024, government had come up with the draft on the IP cameras, and that's come under the STQC, which is applicable from April 2025. So there, the government want that how the companies in India, they can own that, not only the hardware, but also the framework, or how they can control that one, and that is something which is going to be the big game changer in the IP vertical, in the IP camera. And you know that as security is a major concern, and the year after year growth of the IP camera is approximately 21 to 22%, so higher growth is there. So lot of things on the ecosystem where the hardware and framework is going to be there, and IP camera is the one example in that. And I'm sure down the line, the way the wearables capturing the market, more such policies will come for those wearables and all, and that will give the advantage for the Indian companies to lead those devices, followed by the IP camera.
so, Samir, if I can talk to you, again, we spoke audio as such in terms of the hearables and all. What about XR as such? If you can just touch upon that as well.
Happy to. So, our mission really is to enhance the experience overall. Now, whether it's the audio side or the visual side. And again, we take a lot of pride, in the work that we've done with some of our, OEM partners. There are, for example, the Apple Vision Pro or the Meta Quest. Both come with Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos. Dolby Vision is our HDR experience that enhances colors, where you see colors which are, 20 times brighter than a normal picture, or darks which are 10 times darker than a normal picture. So you get more color you get more contrast, you get more detail in the visual experience. Audio, we've already spoken about immersive audio. So the two together actually enhances the experience. So, I mean, the HMDs, if you call them, or you call them eyewear or whatever, it's a huge opportunity for everyone. I mean, for consumers, for OEMs, for brands like us that believe in delivering spectacular audiovisual experiences. I was telling you before we got onto the stage, I was reading an article which said almost 60% of the world population, which is 4 billion humans, actually wear power glasses. I mean, that's a huge opportunity for brands that believe in delivering visual and audio experiences. And we've seen it. I mean, I'm sure a lot of us sitting there might be wearing smart glasses that gives that experience. So there's a lot of work that we do in that space, Prabhu.
And one of the things which we saw at CMR, we just put it out 2 days ago as such, it's on the smart glasses, the adoption and the consumer appetite, that has really grown up in H2 of last year. It spiked like anything. I would love Gautam and Manas and Tasleem as well to jump on this in terms of what you see with all of the AR and the XR glasses as such. What is that from a Xiaomi point of view? How does that translate to?
I think Xiaomi itself has a pair of glasses which are the AI-powered glasses, and I feel that is currently the best execution of AI on wearables. My personal take, because I have a PlayStation VR, I have a a Meta Quest as well. It's just that for me, at least, when the entire display, you are kind of looking in a very different world altogether, the latency and everything becomes an issue. At least for me, it kind of becomes like a bit more nauseating experience, at least for me, because in the VR terms. But when I'm just wearing glasses, or let's say the Xiaomi Air glasses, for example, I am still just wearing glasses, right? I'm not really looking at a whole new world and all these things. I don't have to worry about latency and everything, but the device itself can still do a lot more for me. It can see, whatever it's looking at, it can translate it for me. It can explain, if I'm looking at a flower, it can explain what, what flower is this, what regions does it grow in. And I can ask a lot more questions. I can talk to someone and then, I can only hear what they are trying to say. And also get translation features, which again is the point of, you always had a mic on different wearables, but what do you do with the mic becomes a question. So I think for me, just the sunglasses or glasses with camera built in, with AI built in and microphone built in is a better execution of this thing. If I have to talk about an immersive world, of course, I also want to be in that immersive world, but latency is still a big issue for me.
Yeah, definitely. As a brand, AR, we are already investing a lot on this research and all. And as a brand, we always want innovation or product innovation which can enhance the user experience. Because as a brand, for us, consumer come first. So all the innovation which we keep doing it, and we have the AR, VR, we already shown in the MWC, which you had already seen it. But we always want that till we build that product where the consumer can start using it, and for a consumer, if they are buying the product, then what are the uses there, what are the services and how they are utilizing that particular device and how they are really enhancing their experience, their daily life. That's something which we keep evolving. So technology-wise, yes, we have done that part. Now we are just trying to build the use cases and the ecosystem around that, so that whatever with the money consumer investing on those devices can really get the ROI of that one. So a lot of innovation in our side is going to build the ecosystem and the uses on top of that.
Yeah, I think, like Gautam said, it's a fantastic, if in the world of AI, it's the only form factor that works, because it, as Gautam said, it sees what you see, it hears what you hear, it can give you real-time feedback, right? So it works in a seamless way. The other thing which is again, I think Meta has done a fantastic job, is that to make glasses extremely fashionable, right? Their partnership with Meta and not building this independently was a great signal to the world that, as you said, a lot of people wear glasses for fashion, a lot of people wear it as prescription glasses, right? So making it like a mass adoption kind of a product is something that has Meta done really, really well. And then again, you have more form factors. So apart from AI glasses, now you have heads-up display, you have neural bands to control your notifications real time, right? So the roadmap to VR glasses and AR glasses is extremely, extremely promising in my opinion.
And that's something which we see for sure, like from an Indian context as well, like when you talk in terms of voice or vernacular or video for that matter, like when you look at glasses, they can transcend most of their barriers that we see as such, So again, from a CMR point of view, we are bullish about that for sure. I just wanted to switch gears to one of the other things which Gautam and I saw at MWC, and this I've been seeing for some time. It's the entire trend of bracelets, right? Like, or you can call it the mala as such, like things which you can see, it can hear what you hear, it can take notes for you and whatnot. They call it the personal assistant. So you wear it on your neck, The first time I saw it, I felt like, yeah, this is a form factor that might really support or grow as such. But somehow that startup folded. It was acquired by a technology giant. 2 years now, like this year, for instance, again, it has made a comeback. There are at least 2 or 3 different brands which are talking of what that particular form factor can look like. So Gautam, if I can start with you, like, do you really see the promise in that?
I think out of all the magical things that we see at MWC, somehow any device that's getting smaller or not interfering with your life kind of becomes the most exciting part of MWC. But still, I still feel that technology needs to blend in, not stick out. So even if it's a smaller device, you're still wearing it in your neck. So it still does not feel very natural. It does not feel like something that you would wear if you were not so much into tech. Another thing was, you had this heads-up display where you can write on your hand and all that, and it will kind of send that message. So while in theory it all sounds exciting and all that, I think there is a huge learning curve that's involved, and also the adoption of such things is going to be slow, as always, right? So my take is that these are great hype products, but at the end, a consumer will not adopt so quickly to something which is very, very different from what they're used to now.
See, the way AI works, all is driven by the data. So all the devices which capture the data is going to be popular. So wearable, what kind of wearable and how many times in a day, in 24 hours, how many times user wore that one, that is the most important one. If it's a ring or is a mala kind of bracelet kind of thing. So the things, any devices which user use for maximum time, that can help the companies or the services to capture the data, that will be the trend. So it's not about any particular devices. So any devices which can capture these data so that can help your recommendation more better, that will get the market.
Manas, you want to jump in? Or?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting form factor. Again, like I said, smart glasses is the best form factor from an AI standpoint. The concern, and like you mentioned, there have been a bunch of them which have faltered. The reason has been, again, they have tried to be independent devices. They have tried to replace a smartphone. And like we started, that it's next to impossible to replace your smartphone today because huge dependence, huge context, all your applications, data, everything is connected through that device. Even most of your accessories today are Bluetooth connected and then kind of send this data to the device and then to the cloud, right? It's an interesting form factor, but the concern has been latency and privacy. If people can solve that in near future, there can be specific use cases, maybe like a sales assistant, right? Imagine you are a salesman and you are going and selling to a shopkeeper. Now, the entire conversation is transcribed from, let's say, notes perspective, right? There can be specific use cases that can be worked out. It'll take a lot of time, as Gautam said, to kind of become the main form factor device, which is very, very hard, in my opinion.
And what about the concerns that you said, like, wow, the privacy bit, that's been like something, whether it be glasses or whether it be these kind of, the bracelets kind of form factors, that's a concern which we constantly hear. As an analyst, I keep seeing that raised again and again. So how do you see that, addressing privacy from a consumer context as such, when you talk of Hearables and all of this?
I don't personally see, if you're carrying a smartphone and other multiple devices, then, generally people are okay with all these devices as well, right? Like I remember that, Apple cut all tracking of Meta on the devices, but then they started selling those glasses and people with iPhone are using those glasses. So I don't think it really changes anything, but yeah, for sure, having a level of privacy is something which is people would want. and on-device AI kind of solves for it because it's not sending any data to the cloud and everything is happening on device. So privacy is something I think people really value, but as per like if you have a phone, then what are you really worried about?
So let's switch gears. Let's talk in terms of the retail itself. Where do you see consumers buying? Like one of the things which I said, online was a predominant channel. If you were to look at in the context of accessories, there is that shift also happening, and I think that ties to another theme which I wanted to talk about, which we touched briefly, the premiumness part of it. More consumers are now looking at offline as well for all of these hearables, wearables as such. So if I can have all of you just jump in, talk about the trends which you see and how this will evolve further as such from a consumer point of view.
I think till certain point, at least before COVID, buying online seems to be like a cooler thing. Like, if you are digital savvy and all that, just buy everything online, you look like the cooler person. But I think COVID kind of changed everything. When people are forced to do something, they want the exact opposite, right? So when you're forced to buy everything online, the decision was as soon as everything opens, I want to go offline and experience things. But I still feel that, for a couple of devices, your experience can be had, like people just want experience. For example, if I have to give an example of a different brand, let's say a Whoop band. A Whoop band from a experience point of view is not changing anything, right? It does not have a display or anything. What you really need to like is the kind of insights it's giving you, the app usage, how seamless is the app, that all you can understand from online itself. I'm sure, it's an expensive purchase, so people would still want to go offline and buy it. I'm just saying that it is possible to experience it without going to a store. And then the other thing would be, affordable products which are entry level. Generally, they don't have any demos and everything inside a store, and therefore, again, consumer has to rely on buying online. But when it comes to premium products that have an interface that you want to see how it looks on your wrist and all that, and also somehow with the barrage of entry-level products that has happened, and people have experienced it, liked it, may not like it. So now they want their second or third accessory. They want to experience it first before making that purchase decision. So premium people are definitely going offline. For devices that require you to kind of try it on, for example, the Meta glasses or a watch or something, then again that offline experience makes a lot more sense. But for remaining things, people can still choose to be online or are forced to be online because the demonstration and everything is not available.
Happy to. So I think the brands that have been successful in India, have had a omni-channel strategy. Just look at the consumer journey. What could have started with me, for example, on Instagram to understand a product, took me to a marketplace, just to get more details on what the product is, and then probably offline. So a phygital kind of, behavior is what we are seeing. Indians love touch and feel, right? We all love to touch and feel the product. But to Gautam's point, I think he had a valid point. Premium, of course, most certainly. And experience devices, even more so. You can't talk or read the experience, you have to experience the experience. So phygital, omni-channel is where I see most brands who are successful in India to continue their journey. And that's, you just map where the consumer is going and ensure that he or she gets an experience there.
So I think they are the business guys, so they have the good data points. But whatever I heard it as a consumer, what I heard is that more than 70% is still people go to the online, just check the spec and all. But conversion is less. But really, when they have to buy, then 40 to 40% people go for the offline. But yeah, definitely if to check the spec and all, they go to the online and but still the experience, as they mentioned, that experience is important. So when they have to really buy, they really go to the offline, they check the product and then only they buy it. And majorly, I believe in the premium segment, this number is more. Yeah. In premium segment, still people go more and to just check the devices and all, because still in India, we are cost-centric. We want to see that how good is that, how much feeling, experience and all, and then only people invest in that.
If I were to switch that question again, like what is your personal choice as such, starting with you, Tasleem, like when you look at a new device, forget the brand that you are representing right now, but when you buy, and this is for all of you, do you really like start from Instagram or whichever platform? Like I might, like most of the time I am on Instagram, so I start from there. But what is your own personal preference and where do you end up buying? Do you go to the a Chroma or any of those stores? I want to hear from each of you in terms of your own personal journeys as such.
Yeah, I think I'm coming from a very different school of thought because it's very interesting, and I think what Gautam said is actually bang on. It's not about high price point, it's about the device. So like he said, Whoop doesn't have a lot of technicalities to experience. A band you wear and tracks, right? So you don't really care, it can be shipped out. But let's say you're trying to buy something which is a new form factor for you, you want to really experience it, doesn't matter the price point. That is something what we have seen, but interestingly, in the brands, what I have seen that even at a premium prices, people are ready to commit online. They are ready to kind of buy the product. Of course, you have a lot of facility of cash on delivery, return, warranty and services. So I think I have at least seen that, of course, an experience part is extremely important, where you can experience the brand and connect with the brand, not make a sale. But making a purchase online is like extremely seamless, and I see users of all age group being very comfortable and doing all amount of transactions.
I think my example will be the worst. Actually, Sameer was at Xiaomi office and I wanted to buy a home theater. And I asked him, how are the theater quads and all that. So he said that, it's the best representation of Atmos and you should definitely get it. And I just bought it online. I did not go to a store. And this is like a 2 lakh purchase that I just did online without ever testing out the product and all that. Generally people would, if it was a Bose product, it's just an easy call because everyone seems to love the Bose sound. It's very warm and all that. But Sony, I have, like my previous home theater at my Delhi home is also a Sony, but that was like years back. But I still bought it because I just buy things online, so I don't want to go to a store unless absolutely necessary. In my case, that was the PS5 because there is no way you can get it online at that point of time, 2020, 2021. Yeah. So I had to go to a Reliance Digital to get it. But if it's not absolutely necessary, I will never go to a store and buy something.
Since we're talking smart accessories, right? One of my prized possession of a smart accessory is a smart glass. And my journey as a consumer started when I read about it on social media, right? There was an ad targeted beautifully to me and I was reading and it knows exactly. So to your point, right? It hears you, it listens to you, it knows what you're reading, right? So that popped up, that generated curiosity. Then my next click really was to understand a little more about the product. I went online. But then my true touch and feel self took me to a store. And that's when I ended up buying those smart glasses. I got an experience. Another reason for me to visit really was because I wanted prescription glasses. Okay. So that was another, it's that, mindset of yours. You have to take that prescription, you have to go to an optician, ensure that he understands what those are. And then, it needed fitment, right? So the brand was not offering prescription glasses back then. And I had to get them customized. So there were multiple reasons, but then to my earlier point, started with, social media, took me to the brand store, online, and then physical. I wanted the demo. I wanted to know what that device was. And I wanted to be the first few to own it. The flaunt rights, right? I wanted to have that for some point in time. But it's a beautiful product. It's utility, but that's how the journey really happened. So I'm still a touch and feel, product person.
And I agree with all of you, except there have been instances where I started off online, even in Kickstarter for that matter. One of the first smartwatches, it came on the Pebble. Not many people here in the room would know about Pebble. I'm talking about the e-ink display. When I purchased it online, the guy was like, are you really sure you want it in India? I'm not sure if I will be able to send it, $200 or so, but he said, it's your risk, we will send it out, and somehow it came through, Indian customs and whatnot, and I was able to enjoy it, and from then to a smart glasses kind of thing, without naming the brand, but everybody knows what I'm talking about. I have had the scenario where in US, I went to the store, and this was the first generation devices, didn't work at all. None of the devices were working. I was told that it is just for education purposes, but nothing is working right now. Check back later, and 2 years later, I see every one of them wearing it, and I'm still like, okay, now I have missed the bus. now what should I do? But it's been great. Like, we have covered a lot of ground on this topic as such, like in terms of accessories. Coming back to it, like in terms of the future, how excited are you? How optimistic are you in terms of each of those form factors that we spoke about? What's the trend that you look at? Either from a brand perspective or even individual perspective, starting from Gautam.
I think overall, like not talking about Xiaomi in particular, just talking about the industry in general, but the confidence at which a lot of brands are investing in these technologies, like Meta is investing very heavily in the glasses. It just gives you a lot more confidence that wherever this product is right now, eventually it will get better for sure, because there are a lot of good investments that are going in, as well as the technology itself or the piece of hardware itself is kind of very promising by itself. I remember, like earlier Google also had their glasses, but the problem was that it looked like tech glasses, right? It looked like nerd glasses, and therefore, most of the people did not adopt that particular form factor. But as soon as it kind of blended in with Ray-Ban design, it just made a lot more sense. So I think I am very confident that in future all these AI devices, this wearables are going to work a lot better for you with the on-device AI coming in, and a lot of brands understanding what the consumer really wants. So my confidence is very high, but in certain categories, I feel the future will be a lot better, like the glasses part itself.
Samir, from a immersive audio visual perspective, if you can talk about what are those categories where you are very bullish on, within the smart accessory space. You would say everything, but within that, like, what's your confidence? Like, what excites you most?
So Prabhu, you cut me short. No, I think I'm particularly excited about the wearables, the hearables and the eye, wear, because that to me really solves the problem and the opportunity, right? 4 billion humans, wear glasses. I mean, that's huge opportunity, and that's where we come in to enhance, both audiovisual experiences. Even your hearables, I mean, TWS, for example, is not just about, listening to music or audiobooks or for taking calls. It'll be my, the AI on that could be my companion. I mean, which enhances everything that I do. So I would particularly say, eyewear and hearables are the ones to watch out for in the next couple of years.
For me, the devices, the different categories will keep coming, but the opportunity which I'm looking forward is the ecosystem. That smartphone, if you go to check the smartphone history, feature phone was there, smartphone came, definitely it was multi-process. That was one of the reasons, but the major reason for smartphone to get so popular is the ecosystem, the app ecosystem which they had built it. So based on that experience, I can sense it, or I can predict that any category which able to build the ecosystem which really enhance the user experience, that's going to be the next big game changer, and there is a big opportunity there because that required the less investment and better ROI.
Yeah, I think I agree with Samir. I think Hearables is going to be interesting in India. Multimodal point of view, voice is something people use a lot, whether it's AI or normal navigation. And then again, like Samir said, that TWS is not just audio and music. It has health factors. You can measure your heart rate, you can measure temperature. It can be AI companion, it can take logs, it can hear. So I think if I look at a form factor from a mass adoption point of view, I think Hearables is an interesting space. Of course, smart glasses are there, but will take a large time because fairly expensive, accessibility, prescription glasses, offline distribution, right? Harder category to crack, will take longer, but Hearables, I think, super interesting.
So it's been great talking to all of you, and again, the key takeaway here is that all of us here on the stage, I'm no exception, we are bullish on the future when it comes to smart accessories. It's not about what replaces the smartphone. It is about all of these form factors coexisting together. Each of them serve one or the other function as such. It's more about what all technologies envelope you, whether it be the eye, whether it be the ear, or the body for that matter. Whatever helps you be optimal in all of what you do, whether it be in terms of tracking your health metrics, whether it be in terms of zoning out completely and drowning yourself in immersive audio experiences as such, or for that matter, you know, on those long flights that we do, really zoning out from the world and looking at those augmented realities or whatnot. So the future is definitely exciting. It's been great to talking all of you, like Samir, Manas, Tasleem, and Gautam. It's one thing I really want to thank Convergence. Every year they get me on stage with all of my friends. I really appreciate that. Look forward to being here on stage with all of you again soon, sometime in the near future. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Indeed, sir. I would now request our distinguished moderator, sir, to kindly do the honors of felicitating our panelists with a token of gratitude and appreciation.